Alrighty, so I really did enjoy the Darktide closed beta. I had a lot of fun with it, I think it shows a lot of promise, and I think the game is overall good. The art department punched way above their weight. Everything to do with the art, from the graphics to the cosmetics to the just general art design of the whole game, is nothing short of incredible. And if Jesper Kid does not win a whole trophy case of awards for the soundtrack, then society has failed us. However, I think there's one glaring issue in the game, and that is that they have a big information problem. The main culprits of this are the HUD and all of the statistics, or rather the lack of statistics, we are given with our weapons. So I wanted to make a video that is constructive criticism on the information problem in the game. Again, I want to say I had a lot of fun with the beta. I think the game is overall a good game, but I think this information problem is the most pressing problem that can hopefully be fixed before the game launches, and if not, then shortly thereafter. So what I'm going to do is first explain the problem, and then provide possible solutions by giving examples from other games. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to explain why all of this is very important, specifically for players like me who plan on playing the game all the way through endgame and spending hundreds of hours in the games just like I did with Vermintide. So the first thing I want to do is actually look at the HUD. And I want to say the way the HUD looks actually does look good. What information it does show, it shows well, it's concise, and it fits in with the theme of the game. However, I don't think it gives us enough information, specifically on our teammates. So just looking at my teammates, I can see their health, I can see their character portrait, I can see their support item, and that is about it. I don't know what class they are. I don't know how much ammo they have. I don't know if they have their class ability up. These are all things that are very relevant while you're playing the game and makes an impact on your ability to make informed decisions about whether you're going to put ammo down, about whether or not we can take a straightforward fight, or if we need to kite back, if we need to scout for resources. And also, if I'm just jumping into a quick play game in the middle of the game, then I have no idea what my role is on this team because I don't know what classes the other people are playing, just from looking at the HUD. Of course, I can look at their weapons and see them use their ults and all that, but I think the idea is that you should be able to tell that just from glancing at the HUD. And now if we look at the portion dedicated to our own character, I'd say this is pretty good. I just have a small qualm with it. It appears that these 3 bars show how many people are in your coherency bonus, but this purple icon also seems to show how many coherency bonuses you are affected by, including your own. And my question is, why do we need both of these? I think the bars alone do that very effectively, and I don't think the icon is necessary. And secondly, I think this is just a beta thing, but I think the fire icon is supposed to show my warp charges, how many warp charges I have. And if that is the case, then that should just be the icon it has in the talent tree. That way there's no question what it means. If I were to hop in a Psyker game for the first time, I would have no idea what this fire icon means, and that was my experience when I played the Psyker. But something tells me that's just a placeholder, and in the final game they will have the actual icon there. And so there's 2 examples I want to bring up for this. Now, I use the numeric UI mod for Vermintide 2, and as you can see, all it does is it just adds an icon over to the right that shows how much ammo they have. And also in Vermintide 2, it's much easier to tell what class they are playing because their portrait is directly associated with their class. That issue may be fixed as players get more cosmetics that are specific to their classes in Darktide, but that will still be a problem at the beginning of the game because there's not many head accessories that differentiate the classes from each other, with the exception of the Ogryn, of course. But I don't think it's unreasonable to have an icon that shows what class they are playing next to their name. And also there is just a small purple bar that shows whether or not your teammates have their class abilities up and ready to go. And I wanted to look at Deep Rock Galactic specifically for the ammo. The segmented bar that is underneath my teammate's health bar shows how much ammo they have. It's an easy visual way to show whether somebody has full ammo, whether they've used half their ammo, or if they're really low on ammo. I think Darktide would benefit greatly from something like that. And that will wrap up my constructive criticism for the HUD specifically. So next, let's talk about the weapon stats. And the first and most obvious thing is that instead of numbers, we have meters for things like damage, cleave, mobility. And I want to say that this is actually fine in the case that this is more specified in another place. So let me take a second to explain what I mean. In Vermintide 2, we have something very similar, except in this case it's plotted on a map or a chart, whatever. But the thing is, in Vermintide 2, we also have access to the armory mod, which gives us more specific statistics for the weapon. And so to go back to Darktide, you're actually halfway there. You already have something that explains what each attack is in their light attack combo and in the heavy attack combo. Now, all of these icons do need to be defined so we know exactly what they mean at some point. I don't know if that means a glossary or if that means if there's some kind of UI tutorial explanation, but I would say it needs to be taken one step further and be something along the lines of the armory mod we have in Vermintide 2. And I will say that the readability of the armory mod could be improved a bit, but I do think there is a place in the game where you should be able to see numbers for the weapon's cleave on each attack, its base damage on each attack, and its damage to armored units on each attack. So for instance, people are complaining that the lasgun is weak, but my theory is that the lasgun actually has good base damage, but it has really low damage to armored enemies. So when someone hops in the game with a lasgun, they'll be popping heads of the specials super easily, but then they're gonna fire a whole clip into a mauler and then be like, wow, this weapon is terrible. And if it's communicated that the lasgun is specifically there to kill unarmored enemies, then that whole conversation just dissipates. And with that, I will wrap up the constructive criticism portion of this video. That being said, let me talk a bit why I think this is really important. It's important for people specifically like me who plan on playing this game for hundreds of hours, playing all the different content, getting through the hardest difficulties, finding what builds are good, what builds are bad, what builds are fun. I think this is most important to your most loyal players, and it's why I think this is actually a fairly pressing issue. And the reality is, for those of us that have fun theory crafting builds, we have to see the numbers. If I did not have access to the armory mod in Vermintide 2, then I probably wouldn't have had as much fun in the game, because then I wouldn't be able to see the strengths and weaknesses of every weapon. The thing is, coming up with builds like that is not about min-maxing the game. It's about making builds that fit a specific role exceedingly well, or making a build that is just really fun to play, and it's not entirely obvious that certain weapons fit certain builds without looking at the numbers. So to explain what I mean, I want to look at an example in Vermintide 2. So there's a fun build you can do on the Handmaiden where it's all about spamming your push attack and spamming dodge, and while everyone knows that the sword and dagger is probably the best weapon, there's actually another weapon that wasn't obvious that would be great on the Handmaiden, and that is just the Elven Sword. And the reason it is great is in the numbers. The push attack and the light attack after it is really, really good, and it synergizes really well with Oak Stance. And on top of that, the Elven Sword has 100 effective dodges. Both of those things are not obvious without access to the numbers. And this is not a min-maxed build, by the way. Yes, some people will use this information to min-max the game and really push it to its limits, but that's going to happen, I think, regardless. I think the vast majority of people will enjoy having access to the numbers so they can try out builds or weapons that weren't obviously good at a first glance. So yeah, those are the main issues I have with the game. Again, I think the game will be absolutely fantastic if these issues are fixed. To me, this is the most obvious and most pressing issue the game has. While the game is already good, I think you're going to onboard a lot of the Vermintide 2 veterans and make the long-term retention of your game much broader. So yeah, thank you for hearing me out as a Vermintide 2 veteran and someone who's very interested and had a ton of fun with the Darktide closed beta. I appreciate you spending your time watching, listening to me talk about Darktide. If you like the video, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.